What did Jesus mean when he said, it is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom? You know, from that teaching, there are a lot of people who say that the rich cannot be saved because they're too rich. That's not what Jesus is saying. In fact, the Bible tells us that the disciples were amazed at Jesus' words. There's good reason why they were amazed, because the prophets like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, kings like David and Solomon, and prophets like Jeremiah, they were actually wealthy people. So they're thinking, are you saying that those people didn't get saved? No, what Jesus is saying is, anyone who trusts in their riches cannot be saved. And for us, we have to trust in the finished work of the cross, what Jesus did for us. And we have to trust in God's plan of salvation, not in our own efforts or works. But there's something that I want to bring about the idea of the camel going through the eye of a needle. Most of us get the picture of this big old animal going through a little sewing needle. Well, that's not really the case. Cyril of Alexandria, one of our patriarchs, he says that he thinks that the copyist typed it or spelled it out wrong. Because of the word camel and rope are similar words. Camel is the Greek word kamelios, and rope is kamelios. You see how similar sounding they are. So Alexandria thought Jesus was referring to a rope. And so how do you get a rope through an eye of a needle? Well, you have to pull out a little strand, don't you? And then that little strand can go into the eye of the needle. Another picture is given to us by Thomas Aquinas. He says that back in those days, the city gates were often called eyes of the needle because they had the shape of an eye of a needle. And so what cities would do, they would shut down the gates or close the gates so that intruders couldn't come in. But to make it convenient for people in the city to come out, they would have a little small opening to the gate, and they call it the eye of a needle. And so what he's saying here is, if he's referring to a camel going through that little door, he's saying in order for a camel to get into that little opening, the camel has to be unloaded. The merchant has to take all the goods, the wealth that he's accumulated, and take it off the camel. And then he had to train the camel to get on its knees and then to crawl through that little opening. And these are two good word pictures to show that in order to enter God's kingdom, we have to get rid of the trust of things that we've done, things that are on our shoulder, things that we've accomplished, and we have to get rid of that trust. And we have to get on our knees and humble ourselves before the Lord. And when we do this, He will save us, because what's impossible with man is possible with God. One final point. Peter said to the Lord, we left everything to follow you. What will there be for us? And listen to what Jesus said. Anyone who's given up anything for me will not fail to receive 100 times back in this present age. When? Right here in this present age.